The hype around the Nike Alphafly 3 was huge when it first dropped. A lot of us were blown away with the first version, let down massively with the second version, so the hope of getting something half decent again was enough for me to pay full price and snag a pair on release. After some initial testing, I was pretty impressed, so I took the shoe for a race test down at the Cardiff Bay 10K back in May last year. The race was probably the worst race of the year, but I knew it wasn't the shoe's fault, so I persisted with testing. I went back to my trusty Vaporfly and also the Saucony Endorphin Elite and realised just how big and bulky I found the Alphafly 3. And despite it being an improvement from the previous version, I realised I had better options. Since then, the shoe rarely made an appearance until more recently when I was looking for a long run / speed day shoe replacement for my Adidas Adios Pro 3. And so up steps the Alphafly 3. And so with all that running, I'm excited to give you guys my 100-mile update on this shoe. I appreciate this is probably a fair few months overdue, but it's taken me a while to get there. A little bit like the Adios Pro 3, where that thing got stashed in the cupboard until more recently when I got it back out and realised I fell in love with it in training and used it as a great training tool. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't love this as much as that. However, I paid £285 for this shoe, therefore I'm going to run this thing into the ground and start using it a lot more. So, as with all 100-mile updates, I'll go through the wear and tear on this shoe, how I've been using it, and then of course tell you if I'm going to continue to use it moving forward. So without further ado, let's jump in to the wear and tear. So there's only one area of concern on this shoe and we'll go through that in a second, but in general this thing visually is holding up really well. There's no snags, no frays, no tears on the upper, and everything still feels really good. I still get a really nice locked in feeling. However, I will say in terms of locked in, what I mean by that is the laces don't come undone. They are that lovely kind of ridgy laces where you kind of, ridgy, is that even a word? Ridged laces where you can kind of get them down and they bite nicely and they don't come undone. But I will be honest with you, I've never been able to get like the best fit over the top of the foot, but I get enough of a fit for it to feel secure and feel half decent. As for the Zoom X, that visually always looks a little bit creased, but that's always been the case, and I can confirm that after 100 miles, this thing is still holding up really well in terms of performance and bounce. I will say, and I will give it to Nike, Zoom X is one of those foams that, despite it being their premium racing foam, it does tend to last quite a long time. I've taken some Vaporflies over 200 miles before and never had an issue with those, and I know from hearing a lot of you guys, you tend to race in these shoes, whether it be an Alphafly or a Vaporfly. We retire them to training when they have done with their racing life and they can last forever. So kudos there, it seems to be going really well at 100 miles, and I wouldn't be concerned about not racing in this shoe if this was my main racer. I'd still be pulling it out for those race days. The one area of concern is indeed on the outsole. In terms of like the grip and everything, it's holding up really well. It's just this middle bit here. I've noticed over the last few runs, it's getting a little bit indented. Now I am keeping this to the road. There is occasions when it's going on that soft buffed out trails, but I'm really not taking it anywhere where I could pop an AirPod, because obviously I've spent, as I said, £285. I don't want to wreck this shoe. I want to get as much life out of it as I can. But this bit here really is becoming quite indented. It's becoming quite flimsy. There is a slit. Is it this one? Yes, it is this one. I noticed there I slit the Zoom X here. You're probably not going to be able to see it and the camera probably won't focus, but there has been a bit of an indent here and the foam has creased and folded either so much or a rock or a stone has split it, but there is a bit of a split there. However, when it attaches to the rubber, it's absolutely fine. But as you can see, and it's on both the shoes, there is quite an indent here. So I'm not too sure about what's going on here. Otherwise though, everything else is okay. You can expect the usual wear on the exposed foam, some of the colours going, but in terms of the rubber and where the rubber placement is, all seems to be okay. So let's get on to how I've been using this shoe. Well, if we cast our mind back to last year when I got it, I think there was 2 or 3 training runs in this shoe, a couple of workouts I think thrown in there, maybe a long run, and then I took it out on the Cardiff 10K race. That was where it kind of stayed for a while, and then I didn't pick it up until more recently when I was searching for a replacement for my Adios Pro 3. That shoe basically took all of my long run workouts through my marathon training block and some of my midweek workouts as well. So that thing did really well. I then took this one out and my Saucony Endorphin Elite, which to be fair, in terms of foams, this one is holding up way better than the Elite. The Elite foam, the Power Run HG, flattened off very quickly, fell off a cliff like that. However, I still actually preferred that shoe over this one for those long run workouts. It is more aggressive, but I still felt it looked after the legs and it just works for my gait cycle a little bit better. You have to remember, in my UK size 13, this is one heck of a unit. It's a heck of a shoe and it's a lot heavier than the Elite as well. But what I have noticed since pulling it back out of the cupboard is that my legs are feeling so good after running it, just like the Elite, but maybe better, to be honest with you. Barely feel like I've run on some occasions, to the point where you'll be seeing this in the future, but as when I'm recording this right now, I have a 5k time trial the next day and I took this out on my easy run today to protect the legs and I don't even feel like I've run. So exactly that, it does its job. It's looking after the legs really well. So in terms of how I've used it, in the beginning, it was very much workouts and then a race. And since then, it has been a couple of workouts. It has been mainly longer runs and now an easy run as well. So it's pretty much had the full spectrum. So will I continue to use it moving forward? Well, I think I've answered that probably already. I want to get the most use out of this shoe. This is one of those ones in my mind that I've committed to using a fair bit over the coming weeks. Now, what I tend to find if I use carbon plates too much is I do get irritation in the calves. I tend to just use them once a week where I can. But that tends to be with the more aggressive shaped carbon plated shoes where the plate is placed a little bit lower and there's more of an aggressive scoop up. Tends to get sore bottom of the feet, plantar fascia, and then that spreads up to the calves. Not very often, but it does happen. I find with this Saucony Endorphin Elite and the Alphafly where the plate placement and the curve of the plate is slightly less aggressive, or it certainly feels that way anyway. Either that or just the more foam, the better foam. I don't know what it is. Something in this shoe makes it feel less aggressive, and so I never seem to get any calf issues whatsoever. So I feel confident in being able to pull this one out and use it for some longer runs and some workouts as well. And what I've got coming up after this half marathon training block I'm currently in is a speed block. A speed block where I'm going to be attacking a sub 16-minute 5k. So I'm going to be using this for some more of the slightly longer runs and of course some of those more standard thresholdy workouts, not the top end speed work that I'm going to be needing to break that time in the 5k, but some of those slightly slower workouts and, as I said, some of those longer ones too. Now, some of you might think I'm being a little bit unfair in this shoe because I appreciate there's a lot of you guys out there that do love this shoe, and that's absolutely fine. Just remember, it's all opinions. For me, in a UK size 13, this is one heck of a unit, and I just can't shake the feeling that when I'm running in it, I just can't. When I'm racing, I want something to disappear off my feet so I don't think about it. This thing I can never shake out of my mind. Not only do I hear it, which I've run in louder shoes than this as well, but this is pretty loud, but it is just such a unit. But what I will say is, although I've spent £285 on this shoe, I do feel longevity if, touch wood, if I don't pop an AirPod, I think this thing can last a long time. I think it would be a great training tool, a little bit like the Adios Pro 3. Whether it will go as long as the Adios Pro 3, I don't think it will. Light Strike Pro foam in that shoe was insane. The durability was incredible. It took about 100 miles to break in, but when it broke in, it was absolutely insane. This thing, as I said, I'm not sure it will quite go that long, but if I can get 400 miles out of it, I'll be really damn happy. And I think having experienced super shoes that have fallen off a cliff not too far from where this thing has, like the On Cloud Boom Echo 3, love that shoe, but did find that just past the 100-mile mark, it was absolutely fine, but a little bit past there, I did start to find the performance deteriorated, and in particular the Saucony Endorphin Elite. I can't believe how much that literally was just okay, boom, absolutely flat, and now it's absolutely dead. Although, as I said, I still love it. I still love the way that it feels, rolls through the gait cycle, everything about it's still great, and there's still a good block of foam under there. It's just not as bouncy and responsive as it was. You do notice in that one a big deterioration. I do feel like, and I know a proven track record with Nike Zoom X shoes that I have, that they will go on for a long period of time. And so I will say that despite it being one of the more expensive super shoes, and yes, I would never advocate buying this thing for training, I'm in that situation now where I want to use it and I feel like I'm going to get some good use out of it. So yeah, kudos to them. I think the foam is going to last a lot longer than some of the other super shoe foams. So there we go, a bit of a shorter and sweeter update on this one, but I did want to give you guys an update. You'll probably see it a lot more in the training videos over the coming weeks as well. I do intend to use it. As I said, I will take that thing as far as I can, or as far as I feel I can, unless I can snag a pair of Adios Pro 3s again for a stupidly cheap price. I definitely still want to get another pair of those. But obviously I'm going to throw the question back out to you guys, because this thing has been released now for probably nearly a year. I'd love to know how many miles you managed to get in your pair before you had to retire them. Of course, you guys will have much more detailed feedback than me, having only just got them to 100. So if you can let people know down in the comments below how many miles you managed to get into them before they went flat or an AirPod burst or whatever happened to them, that would be absolutely great. And if you're interested in seeing how the Asics Nova Blast is holding up after 200 miles, make sure you check out this video up here, and I will leave a link here to some more longer term shoe reviews down here, and I will see you guys over on one of those.